Let's talk about collaboration. And by this I mean because we have innovations that are coming your way that could scale up all the way international levels, all that. And I'm sure there are ways and mechanisms you have put in place to ensure that collaboration works. Are there any that exist to ensure the culture of innovation is still growing?
Yes. So, you know, the good thing is that private sector is, there are people and there are institutions actually set up to do that. We've done a lot of programs with organizations that are capacity building angel investors. So we've got quite a network of angel investors. We've got a number of VCs that are set up in town, some big, some small, some international. And those are normally the pathways that enable collaboration to take place. Because, you know, you need to visualize collaboration for what? Collaboration typically is that give me something that I don't have.
Okay.
You have the strength in it.
Yeah.
And what is it that typical innovators would need? They'll need expertise on developing and scaling businesses, one. Two, resources.
Okay.
Now, when you say developing, it means accessing market and penetrating and doing proper valuation and strategies for going to market. So this is what the VCs will do for you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
But at different stages, you know, angel investors will be more a little earlier stages. But then if you're looking for big kind of funding, then you go more for the VCs. And there are now, and they actually give significant amount of funding to startups over the last couple of years.
Okay.
So that's what I call partnerships for scaling innovation.
All right. There has been some negative news around startups and the startup culture, which I think for me is a little bit not unfounded, but it's normal sometimes in global scale. Sometimes startups don't make it. But Kenya has been a bit on the limelight where we're seeing a little bit of some of the startups being pointed out, hey, they didn't work well. What are these? What's happening? I'm sure it has been something on your desk as well. You've been observing the news around. What's happening? What can be done to remedy this?
Good question. Sometimes when startups also fail, people kind of feel like, oh, it was all about some hot air here. You know, people were faking it, and so on and so forth. And I'll make two observations. One, it's true that when we emphasize fundraising, more than we should emphasize the development of the business, we risk that somewhere along the way, startups will collapse because they have no market. You know, I can give you all the money you need, but then if the business is not converting, then it's not sustainable. Somewhere along the way, there's going to be a crash. And that has happened, where you actually get news, you know, startup X has raised so much money. And sometimes raising money is about how well you can pitch and how well you can position yourself, whom did you talk to, what is their appetite, where was their source of money, and so on and so forth. And you can actually convince. So we've got instances where actually startups have pitched and they've raised quite some money, but then they struggle to actually sort out the business. Maybe the market wasn't there in the first place, or maybe we didn't approach the market, or we grew too fast against certain realities. So that's one context. But the second context is that failure is everywhere.
Okay.
I mean, there's no market that you will develop startups and never have a chance to fail. The probability of failure is always high. There's nothing abnormal about it. But we should be careful not to have too much of the failure because of decisions that we could have avoided. That's the point. But I think the market, the environment, and there are startups that have really succeeded and scaled and are thriving. So it depends on the perspectives, but I would almost think it's a normal context. There is no extreme as such in the examples and the scenario that we have. And thirdly, I will also observe that I think the culture does also contribute. I mean, I used to ask a few vice chancellors, how many of you attended a class on intellectual property? And then barely anyone asked. Okay, then I said, okay, guys, second question. How many of you have mainstreamed intellectual property teaching in your institutions? Ooh. All right. Why am I asking that question? It's like, you know, or actually, let me tell you another third question. I would ask faculty members, you know, like in some workshop, I've been invited to a Senate meeting. Then I would ask, how many of you know what an angel investor is? Okay, so you don't get the hands. Then I said, but you know, that's the game that people have to play when they're building startups. And the best place to gather that kind of insight is through the education process. So we have a duty as institutions as well to mainstream these issues in education so that as the students get out or even while they're in, their culture and their orientation is better as they make negotiations on partnerships for funding and business development and so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
So then they don't, because they can be misled. And I've had many stories, by the way, in this office, many stories. Oh, my idea was stolen. Oh, I don't want to show my idea because it will be stolen.
Sign NDA, all that.
yeah, sign this and that. That's okay, but you see, just like having a car, well, I'm sure you parked one. I saw very nice car there.
Yes.
Why are you not scared that it will be stolen? Because you brought it out. You drove it. You parked it. You don't seem to be scared that it will be stolen. And actually, I saw you over the weekend. You were showing off. Why? Because you've protected it.
Yeah.
You have the logbook.
Yeah.
It's yours.
It's mine.
So then now you don't have that anxiety. And you pick the car, the first thing you think about it, what? The logbook.
Yeah.
You can't pay before you see a logbook. So similar, just as an analogy, that we are able to sort out these issues if we mainstream appreciation of intellectual property rights, and how to protect and how to create commercial value out of that.
Okay. Yeah. As we come to the end of the conversation, two-part. One, I would like you to speak about what's coming up in the Kenya Innovation Week and what to expect. And number two, for anybody who's watching and saying, I want to speak to the Kenya National Innovation Agency because I would probably, hopefully, want to get helped up, in tapping to the angel investors, the VCs, the incubation part of those things. What can someone do? Over to you.
Thanks. Kenya Innovation Week is coming up between the 27th of November and the 1st of December this year.
Okay.
That's a few weeks down the road. It's not the first time we're doing it. This is the third time.
Okay.
So since I got into office, it's one of the things I kind of designed.
Yeah.
And I look at the Kenya Innovation Week as a melting point of all the components you need in a national innovation system. So you'll find government, the head of state will officially open the Innovation Week on the 27th.
Okay.
And that's the head, meaning government will be there.
It means that. Yeah.
And all the way to institutions in government that support innovation, including the Kenya Copyright Board, Intellectual Property Folks, KIPI, Anti-Counterfeit Authority, and then all the others that play spaces like, creative, the Film Commission, Film Classification, Presidential Music Commission, and so on and so forth, who support along the pipe of innovation. There will be universities as well. Then there will be academia. And we've engaged a lot with, for example, Young Scientist Kenya. We'll be bringing close to 500 young people who are active in STEM, science, technology, So they have their own challenge and competition, and then they bring the best. So they will be exhibiting and showcasing. Within that space, there's also the universities. For example, we've got a seminar, a masterclass, a whole afternoon with Vice Chancellor on how do you build a more entrepreneurial institution in your context. And then there's an opportunity to interact with other players. There'll be private sector. We've got some angel investors. We've got a summit on the startup economy. We've got a pitching platform on the Friday. We call it a Commonwealth Pitch Festival, and so forth. There's a huge set of pavilions, and other governments and countries are also participating. This year, we're running a Commonwealth edition. So we built a relationship with the Commonwealth Secretariat in London to kind of try and rally other countries as well to participate. And we've got quite a number, some speakers from different kinds of countries. I can range in Tanzania, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, UK, and Singapore, and so on and so forth. And some of them are exhibiting, some of them are engaging their successes. India, for example, will have an amazing pavilion just engaging on some of the solutions they've created that could be relevant to this market. So it's a marketplace in a way to look at it. And I think I just met, for example, a few researchers from the US who have been very successful in creating outputs that have become big businesses, and they've raised a lot of money, and they're looking even to scale some of their solutions. They will be there. So there's an opportunity to observe, to learn, to network, to share, and to sell.
That's good enough. Finally, anybody watching and they have their idea, they want to engage you, how do they get in touch?
So, as an innovation agency, we're here to build a system for you. If I were to listen to every young person who has an innovation idea, the line and the queue that I would have here was from here to CBD. And that's
some kilometers.
And then that's not a system.
You're right.
So we've been very, very intentional in building the network of incubation hubs and accelerators and technology transfer offices and TVETs and universities. So as you come through, we try as much as possible to kind of direct you to where would you get help closer to you.
Yeah.
We will give you that kind of guidance. Of course, you can go to our website and you can get the details. We do run some little funding programs, but we minimize attention to that intentionally because it can distort the effort of trying to build a system.
You're right.
All right. So, but on the website, our contacts are there. Kenya Innovation Agency. You can also look at the Kenyan Innovation Week web portal, and you get our contacts. You can write to us. You can call us. We have a team that is available to guide on different kind of things. And when we started, for sure, I used to have a long line every day. I was like tending to people and say, well, you know what, this is not sustainable. This is not how to do it. Let me now concentrate on understanding the broader ecosystem and directing people. And that is working. That's working.
I know I had closed, but I have to ask you this. What potential do you see, especially in the corporate world? Because this show talks to a lot of corporate heads on how they could tap into the innovators that we have to create more sustainable solutions that would really tap into our economy. What do you see in the future, 5 years from now, if all efforts were geared towards really embracing this culture of innovation?
I know quite a number of corporates. Some have approached me, some have invited me for meetings. Some have set up incubation centers within their own organization. Wow. I don't need to list the institution that I know.
Which is good.
Why? It's because they are creating an environment to nurture ideas that are relevant to themselves. Others have grown ideas and bought some of those startups. Others have grown ideas and they've translated those solutions into arms of business within the institution. Because that's the spirit of creating jobs. While many young people go through, and that's trying to answer the question, because currently we are somewhere 75% young people in Kenya, and employment rates are not as impressive. I think that the effort of innovation should always be focused in job creation. Now, as a corporate, you may look at a way of saying, well, I want to innovate in this space and create the next level of products, leveraging the capacities that we have of young people. Creative, just create for them the space, give them coffee, and let them go crazy. And you just create a model that enables them to develop these ideas, and then you're creating jobs from that perspective. So for me, the answer lies, our greatest pain point as a country is jobs. And if you don't sort out these jobs, these guys are going to come against you tomorrow. Because you look like you have and they don't have.
You're right.
Now, I hear somebody smiling in the background. It's so true. Now, the second bit I will then say is that, you know, we have opportunities to leapfrog and kind of be models of other countries and other ecosystems. So there's opportunity to create solutions of tomorrow. And that's an amazing opportunity for private sector, leveraging on the talents and innovation in general.
I'm looking forward to the Innovation Week and really getting all these ideas and seeing what's on the offering.
Can I give you a tip?
Yeah, give me.
You'll get a lot of people to interview at the Innovation Week.
Okay. I can't wait.
So you can create a lot of content.
Yes.
And we can get you space there.
Yes.
How about that?
Thank you so much for your time, Dr.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers. And we wish you well, definitely, because, you know, I feel like you hold a very critical part of what we need to see in the future.
Absolutely.
There you have it. Tony Omwansa speaking as it is. I mean, saying, you know, what we have, what it takes. We have we have the people. We have what it takes to really skyrocket our innovations to the levels, bringing even the common world, and I'm thinking even the globe as well at large. Thank you so much for your time. I leave you now with the markets. That's it on Matters Innovation.